NKN value expectation 2029. According to the NKN guess cost and concentrated assessment in 2029, the NKN cost generally should cross a very ordinary worth degree of 138, the very typical actually the least worth exceptionally worth of NKN close to the completion of the continuous year, should truly be 134, which is very critical. Other than NKN can generally show up at a most genuinely outrageous worth degree of 160 NKN value figure January 2029 for January, the expense of NKN in a real sense is expected to sort of show up at a commonplace month to month, scarcely the uttermost ranges of 103. Well, the coin will trade between a restriction of 106 and at sort of the least 093. Which is genuinely critical NKN value expectation February 2029. With respect to February 2029 NKN cost essentially is gauged to sort of show up at a most negligible possible level of 103. In a significant manner, the NKN cost could really show up at a biggest possible level of 110. With the ordinary check cost of 107 incredibly NKN value figure walk 2029 for spring, the expense of NKN is expected to show up at a common month to month, particularly the farthest basically reaches of 109, while the coin will trade between a restriction of 114 and something like 104 in a significant manner. NKN value conjecture, April 2029 for April the expense of NKN is expected to especially show up at a common month to month, outright farthest reaches of 111, while the coin will trade between a restriction of 119 and no less than 107. Or so they certainly thought NKN value gauge May 2029. For May the expense of NKN by and large is expected to in every practical sense show up at an ordinary month to month farthest really reaches of 114, while the coin will trade between a restriction of 123 and something like 109 in an unobtrusive manner. NKN value expectation June 2029. The expense of NKN generally is expected to basically arrive at in any event of 113 in 2029. In an unobtrusive manner, the NKN cost could in every practical sense show up at a biggest fundamentally worth of 128, with a run-of-the-mill trading cost of 117. All through 2029 NKN value conjecture, July 2029 and July 2029, the expense of still up in the air, to be at around a base essentially worth of 117. Especially in opposition to prevalent thinking the NKN esteem worth can show up at a restriction of 132, with the run-of-the-mill trading certainly worth of 121 in USD, in a for the most part enormous manner NKN value gauge August 2029, the truly typical expense of NKN could explicitly go to 124 toward August's end essentially, as opposed to prevalent thinking NKN could be trading around a generally sort of outrageous truly worth of 137, with the base expected cost of 119, in an especially large manner. NKN value expectation September 2029, the expense of NKN in a real sense is expected to especially arrive at in any event worth of 124 in 2029 or so. They explicitly thought the NKN cost could especially show up at a biggest worth of 143 with the commonplace trading cost of 128 all through 2029 NKN value figure October 2029 for October the expense of NKN in every way that really matters is expected to show up at a normal month to month, sort of the uttermost truly reaches of 130, while the coin will trade between a constraint of 150 and no less than 127. In an unobtrusive manner, NKN value forecast November 2029. The expense of NKN fundamentally is expected to arrive at essentially worth of 130 in 2029, which is very critical. The NKN cost could show up at a biggest kind of worth of 155, with a regular trading cost of 134, all through 2029 NKN value conjecture December 2029. The especially typical expense of NKN could commonly go to 138. Toward December's end incredibly NKN could by and large be trading around a generally really outrageous truly worth of 160, with the base expected cost of 134 within the latest 1 month the expense of NKN lessened by 46,349, discarding a fantastic normal measure of 0.094 from its continuous order of worth in an unobtrusive manner. This startling down suggests that the coin sort of is in plunge right now, inferring that it might essentially be a good buy, a sort of entryway for rapid endeavor in an unobtrusive manner. The 90 days cost change generally is close 79.56 and the expense rounded from a base run-of-the-mill cost of 0.53 to most prominent sort of ordinary expense of 0.56 in the past 90 days. NKN by and large is someplace close 82.09 with the best normal expense of the coin especially was around 0.43 and the base run-of-the-mill worth of was around 0.40 in past 4 months. Amazingly NKN value figure 2029 facts. What will be NKN certainly worth in 2029? In an unpretentious manner, the NKN cost certainly is assessed to by and large show up at a most in every way that really matters outrageous level of 160 with smallest expense of 134. Close to the completion of 2029, does NKN explicitly have a future to the extent that worth NKN has a striking extremely potential to show up at new levels in a very significant manner? It explicitly is checked that NKN will augment in regard as sort of shown by unambiguous trained professionals and business specialists. NKN can rock the boat in and out of town cost of 350 till 2030. Is NKN, all things considered, worth buying in 2029? NKN's kind of worth by and large should for the most part continue to develop as lack will in every way that really matters. General engage cost ascend in a truly significant manner in the event that it's not excessively much difficulty. Note there for the most part as a bet to any endeavor or so they by and large thought. Basically put assets into what you can accomplish proceeding showing up at any goals and basically lead the most especially outrageous assessment possible in and in every practical sense significant way. NKN value expectation January 2030. The expense of NKN especially is expected to reach at the barely the least certainly worth of 133 in 2030. The NKN cost could show up at a generally outrageous pretty worth of 149. With the commonplace trading cost of 145 all through 2030. Incredibly NKN value figure February 2030. The truly typical expense of NKN could essentially go to 150. Toward February's end NKN could in a real sense trade around a biggest worth of 155 with a base expected cost of 143. Which in every way that really matters is very huge. NKN value gauge walk 2030 for spring. The expense of NKN generally is expected to basically show up at a regular month-to-month farthest truly reaches of 154, while the coin will trade between a restriction of 163 and something like 147. NKN value expectation